Hello everyone and welcome back. Hope you're having a great day and we're all doing well. Operation Collision Point has been out over a week now, and I think it's time that I give you my top 5 attackers so far for this season. Now this is based on the balancing at the time of current upload, which is the beginning of Y9 Season 4. There may be a mid-season patch which completely changes half the balancing in the game, so just be aware of that, but I doubt that will happen. But honestly, I somewhat struggle to make a top 5 list here because there are so many attackers which I think are in brilliant states and I think they're amazing operators, but I have had to narrow them down to 5. Now, if your favorite ops aren't in this list or you disagree with the list, that is fine. Everyone's going to have their favorites and differences, and you are welcome to disagree. Right, without further ado, let's get into this video. So at the number 5 spot, I am going to put Ram. I know this actually might be surprising to a lot of people, but Ram is an operator who I pick frequently, pretty much once every match, due to just how fast and easy and safe she can get verticality on a bomb site. Now, I feel like a lot of people misunderstand Ram, and I think a lot of people misunderstand as well how vital it is to have that much vertical play. Because I'll talk to people and I'll say, I actually personally think Ram is a bit too strong, which I know statistically you may not agree with, and personally you may not agree with, which again is fine. But I'll give the example if I'm attacking Baseman on Clubhouse, for example. I can easily open up the entirety of Kitchen Hole with safety really fast just by throwing it through the doorway. Now, people will argue against me saying these holes may not necessarily be useful, and as well as this, defenders can also peek through them as well. But if you've seen my Ram guide video, a massive thing I talked about in that video was something known as phantom pressure. Take any other form of soft breach player which you can play vertical with, such as Sledge, or even just a secondary breach charge, and a lot of the times you will focus on default locations like where there would be like a rotate below you, or places where you would expect defenders to play. You wouldn't see a Sledge, for example, going into Clubhouse and opening up the entirety of Kitchen Hallway. He may make a few holes, but he's going to be zoning in on the more common locations. However, with Ram's gadget, which just goes in a straight line and tears up the floor as it goes along, would open up many different locations where players wouldn't typically make a vertical breach. So let's go to Nighthaven Labs, for example. I throw a boogie through this window and it starts to tear up the floor. Let's say this entire round I never once peek this hole. Would you think that is a waste of my utility and just a wasted pick as an operator? I disagree, because although I may never use that hole I just made, the defenders are going to be worried about that the entire round. They don't know if they're going to get peeked from there. They don't know if there's a camera looking for the floor. That is what we call phantom pressure. You are scaring the enemies, you're pushing them away from certain positions by doing absolutely nothing other than just having a hole above them. If there was a massive hole above you that has been made by Ram, would you stand underneath it? The chances are most players would move to a different position. That right there is the major strength of Ram. It is scaring the enemies, it is pushing them into uncomfortable positions, which you and your team can then play off of. She isn't the same as other vertical soft breach players. She isn't the same as Sledge. Sledge and Ram should be played completely differently. I think Ram is an absolute gem of an attacker, and that's why she's at my number 5. So at number 4, I am gonna put, very simply, Thermite. Over the years, there has been many hard breachers, as well as the secondary hard breach charge added to the game. When the game first came out, it was simply Thermite. It was his job to open up a wall. No one else could do it. Then Hibana came to the game, Maverick came to the game, Ace came to the game, secondary hard breaches were added as well. But despite all of these additions and alternatives, there's still no one who does the job as good, in my opinion, as Thermite. I would much rather have a large open breach than a small secondary hard breach hole, which you can easily get picked through when you're trying to jump or walk through. I feel like a lot of people just overcomplicate stuff sometimes with the addition of secondary hard breach and secondary EMPs. Sometimes you just gotta fall back on the basics and bring a Thatcher and Thermite, for example. As well as this, I have a massive bias for Thermite because I absolutely love his primary assault rifle. It's one of my favorite weapons in the game. I always just perform well with it. So although I enjoy him for the fragging capability, I also then bring along hard breach for my team, which I always prioritize first, and then once those hard breach walls are open, I turn into Fragmite and start demolishing the enemies. Not to downplay the usefulness of any of the other hard breachers in the game, as well as operators who have the secondary hard breach, they're all still amazing, very useful, and I'll still play them as well and happily have them on my team, but I'll always think that Thermite just simply does it best. He'll always be an absolute joy to play, and if I'm not wrong, statistically speaking, he is actually the most balanced operator in the game. So that just goes to show how perfect he actually is. I just think because he's not as flashy as some other hard breachers, or people like to think that, oh, the secondary hard breach charges which replaced him, for example, I think people just sleep on Thermite. I always love playing him, and honestly, I need to play him more because I always have a blast when I'm on him. Right, at number 3, we are going to Dokkaebi, an operator who got a little bit of a change last season where they nerfed her, but not that much at all, and many of the powerful aspects of her are still there, and the same way they've been for years now, hence why she's always been such a high played operator. If you're not aware, Dokkaebi used to be able to use both of her calls at the very beginning of the round. They were just there to access. She didn't have to wait for them to load. She now has to wait for both of them to load. That's pretty much it. That's all they've done to her. So anyone who's playing Dokkaebi normally, anyone who's not, just bum rushing, this never really changed anything, and she still has access to defenders' cameras. If she hacks a phone, she still has the option of the gun 6, she still has secondary EMP nades, she still has that really strong DMR, which is an extremely good weapon. Of course, when she does her phone calls, it exposes the positions of defenders. It also knocks them off cameras as well as dead defenders. It stops operators such as Scopos from switching. It stops Echo and Maestro from going on their gadgets to try and stop a plant. I actually think they should go back to how it used to be, where Echo was immune to Dokkaebi. I think that would still be a really fun interaction. But yeah, Dokkaebi is by all means a one-man army. Even again with that nerf, it didn't really change much about her. She can still dismantle a defending team. If there's a Dokkaebi on the board, she can just bring so much. Like I'm saying, accessing defenders' camps, pushing them off cameras, EMPing devices, destroying devices with the gun 6, being a fragger with her weapon. I'm actually surprised that she's made it this far into the game without a significant nerf. I'm genuinely still surprised that she even still has EMPs, or even the gun 6, even just little things like that. Surprised they've not removed it from her. So yeah, Dokkaebi is still an absolute powerhouse. She's going to be in this video every single season as long as she remains unnerfed, because she is just an absolutely phenomenal operator. At number 2, we have one of the new kids on the block, and that is deimos. Technically not a new kid since he was an ex-Rainbow operator, but new to us as a playable operator. Now, from a balancing perspective, I think they've done an absolute standout job with deimos. He is like if the launch version of Lion was balanced, because I genuinely do think that deimos is a balanced operator. He does require skill, he does require a good team to coordinate him with, but when you are putting in that effort, you do get the great payout. Now, deimos is great for roam clearing. You can track down the specific location of that enemy, and if you want to tell your teammates where you are, you do have to coordinate with them. Because remember, teammates do not see where the enemy has been pinged by deimos. Only deimos can see them. And as well as this, that enemy can see deimos as well. He is basically an operator that challenges the enemy to a 1v1, saying, I know where you are, I'm here, come after me, which can be used to scare them, bait them. There's a lot of different aspects that happens with. But where deimos starts to shine is the moment your team get 1 or 2 picks, making it a 5v4 or a 5v3, he just absolutely initiates that collapse on the enemy team. Genuinely, the moment they drop a player, that is when deimos can come in, track another one, start pressuring them even more, another one falls. Eventually, maybe even you get to like a 5v1 or a 3v1. When there's that final player on the board, deimos initiates that track. Absolutely nothing they can do. Deimos knows where they are. You relay that information to your teammate. You pressure that enemy. Your team go for a plant. You hold down the site that you've just got control of. Deimos is like a snowball operator. The moment he gets momentum, he begins that collapse. And your job as the defenders is to either try and take him out early, remain hidden, because he does have to have you scanned at the top of the screen if he wants to track you, which he can also get by pinging your gadget. And you just want to slow down that momentum, because the moment you lose a teammate, deimos starts tracking, it's pretty much over for you, because that collapse is going to come, and it's going to come hard. An absolutely incredible addition to the attacking team, and one of the most enjoyable and powerful operators in the game. Right, come on, you can't be too surprised about this one. At the number 1 spot, we have Buck. I just love this operator. To me, he is just the perfect attacking soldier. The flexibility of going between shotgun and AR, how enjoyable the C8 is to use as a weapon, using map verticality to your advantage, whether you're above or below the bomb site, it does not matter. You pick apart the enemy team like no other operator can. As well as this, with the addition of him having secondary hard breach charge as well, it does give him the availability to open up reinforced walls as well as vertical reinforced hatches. He is by all means my current main. I try not to have mains, but I always do find myself gravitating to Buck if I do need to, you know, go more to a comfortable operator. He is my comfort op. I like to think that I am a very good Buck player, and he's very approachable as well. It's quite easy for new players to understand how to play Buck, but you also do need to be quite skillful to use him very effectively. That's how well I think he is balanced, and to me he's just the perfect operator with the mix of gunplay, map exploitation, and versatility. To me, Buck is the best attacker in Rainbow Six Siege. So be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this list. If you disagree, perfectly welcome to it. Let me know your top 5 attackers in Year 9 Season 4. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy, subscribe if you're new. Have an incredible rest of your day. I'll catch you later. I love you all. Peace.